Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks. It's an odd day for us to be doing this. It's a
Right.
full episode though, episode 27 for July 23rd. My name is John. Excuse me for being extra blurry. This is Andrea, and she's clearer.
One of the few times. Although,
Yeah.
of course, we've now just jinxed it, and I will have technical issues later. So,
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
maybe it's worth being blurry at first because I'm probably gonna like cut out or something, or my mic won't work. So
Yeah.
we'll just see what
All right.
fun surprises are in store.
I intentionally just put like grease over the lens so you can't see any extra blemishes I have or something.
Too many days
Yeah.
at home, not enough
Yep.
showers.
Yep. Well, we just spoke last night,
I know.
had our Doom Patrol recap and talked about other things as well, but
Mhm.
we're back again because
That's
news
right.
is happening. And
Right.
yeah,
Can't stay away.
that's right. When cool news happens, then we have to be around.
That's right.
Um, so for those that didn't catch um, yesterday's stream episode, which is going up on YouTube as we speak.
Mhm.
Um, Want to catch people up? What's going
Sure.
on with you?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, just a busy week of work and house things, being an adult, which sucks. But luckily all that's over now. And I'm looking forward to kind of, relaxing and having fun this weekend. Um, Pokemon Go Fest is this weekend. I have my ticket with Chris, so we are definitely going to do that this weekend. Um, Not sure if we're gonna try and maybe drive around some places or, kind of go to some different hot spots that we know of that we can still kind of, be distant or be in the car, but, get some good spawns. So yeah, looking forward to that this weekend.
Nice. Um, you last night you were celebrating Tequila Day. That's tomorrow.
That's
Are you
right.
are you doing the same tonight? 2 nights in a row?
I am. I've got another tequila and agua fresca. It was so nice. I thought I'd drink it twice.
Yep.
So
Right.
how about yourself,
Perfect.
John? How are you and what you drinking?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Today was busy.
Mhm.
Good busy, but busy. And been playing Prey, as I mentioned last night.
Right?
Finished Dodo Hey Dodo on Netflix. Recommend it to everybody. And I am drinking uh, just regular agua, just just water in a
Not even an
classy
agua
red
fresca, just
cup.
water?
It is fresh and it is water. I mean, it's my own
Alright,
version of
I don't
fresh water.
know. I don't know. We're stretching it, but I might give it to you.
Yeah, I just yep. I didn't feel anything. I had wine last night. Wasn't gonna
Mhm.
open another bottle of wine,
Right.
and I don't want a beer. I'm too full. We
Mhm.
had this really good chicken dish tonight, so I'm full. Just not feeling it.
Yeah, your
I have to
prerogative.
be on point too, really on point to talk about all this stuff right now.
Seriously,
Uh,
there's so much content. I can't even believe, like, how much there is to go over from what happened today.
yeah, yep. Okay, well, we can get into it then. I mean, the big thing I've been looking forward to, I'm wearing a Master Chief shirt today, even,
That's
um,
right.
was the Xbox Game Studios show. Um, been talked about for a while.
Mhm.
Jeff Keighley got his little pre-show thing with a few game announcements there.
Mhm.
Did you get to watch all of this? Did you get to watch some of it? What did you see?
Sure.
Or
Yeah, I watched the entire main event. I only got to see maybe like 5 minutes of the pre-show,
okay,
unfortunately. Just a little too busy for that, but
yep,
yeah, I got to see the entire main event, which was, I mean, the bulk of the content. So,
Yep.
did you catch the pre-show?
I did. Yep. Caught the
Okay.
pre-show. It was all right. It's Hello Neighbor 2, which I hadn't played the first one, but it
Right.
looked fun. Dragon Quest 11 is coming to Game Pass in December. So that's the first time I think Dragon Quest has been on an Xbox console. So that'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be big.
And then one of the people behind the Knights game on like Sega Saturn and some
Mhm.
Sonic stuff is working with Square Enix to make this game called Balan Wonderland.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's my kind of game, but people seemed excited about it. It had real like Frozen vibes to it.
Sure.
It's a lot
Okay.
about the music, very colorful,
Sure.
singing and changing clothes in there and stuff. But it did have it did feel like it had, you could see those Sonic kind of influences
Okay.
almost in like art style. So that was kind of the before show event. But then into the main event, there's a lot of games. It was like 20 some games.
Yeah.
They focused on the games. What was your overall impression? Like, did you come away happy, excited for the future? Did they do what they needed to do?
Yeah. I would say I came away mixed. There were certain bright spots, there were good moments, there were games that intrigued me. Um, I think there were clever promos for games that, caught my attention. On the whole though, kind of disappointed. I felt like this was
Wow.
some more of the same,
Okay.
I mean, Halo
Interesting.
Halo was so hyped up and I
Mhm.
just didn't feel there was enough, especially like gameplay.
Hmm. I mean, like gameplay, I don't know how long it was, but it was like they were wanted to be very clear that you were seeing gameplay because they started out and said
Yes.
press start to go, after their little opening cinematic and their kind of
Yes.
Westworld kind of creating the armor sort of thing.
Right,
And
storyboard opening, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I thought they showed us a number of like, hey, the warthog you know and love is here. They went through some of
Mhm.
the classic weapons. They showed a few new ones. They like wanted to make sure that you understood that the map was a little more open in the way you
Mhm.
like choose objectives to go to. They demonstrated like the extra mobility you have now with the grappling hook and
Yep.
stuff. So I didn't think they could have given us more really in terms of campaign gameplay without getting into like more story elements or beats or something like that.
Mhm.
So I guess
Well,
I was happy with the Halo stuff for sure.
yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of just wish there was more in terms of that, like more in terms of storyline. Um, and I think probably my view is clouded a little bit, I think, by the fact that so many of the other games had no gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the end, I think there was like one other, gosh, I want to say it was Fantasy Star Online that had some
Mm-hmm.
gameplay going on. But I mean, I even like, kind of noted to myself, I was like, man, we're finally back to some gameplay. Like, took us long enough.
Well, a lot of stuff is difficult to tell. Like I did the list of basically everything that was announced here, and if we run
Yeah.
through them, like so, Halo was um a lot of gameplay, a few minutes of gameplay. Then we had State of Decay 3, which was
Mhm.
a cinematic. Then we
Yeah,
had Forza, which I mean, it's hard to tell on a racing thing, but it felt like a put together cinematic mostly.
I would agree.
Everwild was a cinematic yet.
Mhm.
Um, Tell me why that was gameplay
Mhm.
in there because that's a like a story based kind of narrative
Mhm.
game. So it's all gonna look like that. It's
Right.
all like a cutscene basically.
Sure.
Ori, they specifically show gameplay because they were demonstrating the 120 frames per second that they were bringing to it.
That's true. I did
Outer
forget about
Wild was Outer Wild DLC. That was gameplay with cutscenes, but Outer Wild does this stuff where the
World.
cutscenes are built in, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also a game that we already is out, so it's an add-on, so we already understand what that gameplay is like.
Yeah.
Grounded, Grounded was gameplay and cutscenes, and then we go to Avowed. That was a cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
As Dusk Falls, that was I don't remember actually. Then Senwa was definitely cutscene and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Psychonauts was gameplay. Destiny was gameplay.
Psy-
Like there was a lot.
was Psychonauts gameplay though? I felt like that was like just I don't know. I felt like that was almost a cutscene in there. I mean, they went into like, the behind the scenes with Jack Black and he was singing and kind of doing like a little concert in game, which looked more like an in-game experience to me, I think, than like gameplay.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I mean, we did get some. You're right. Like there's definitely things that I'm sort of like remembering now as it's coming back to me. It wasn't like sustained gameplay, so it just didn't feel, I think, like I was sure that I was watching gameplay. Whereas with Halo, of course, we did, and then with Phantasy Star Online, it was a little more sustained, when it was like being put together. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely watching gameplay right now.
And like maybe I'm optimistic. I can see some in the gaming community being like kind of pessimistic about or like weary about not weary, leery about seeing gameplay because in the past it was so obvious, right? What was gameplay and what was not.
Right.
And now it's less. I mean, you look at something like Ghost of Tsushima and there's very little user interface, icons, anything like that. I mean, is that a cutscene or is that gameplay? A lot of games, they're of a high enough fidelity now, they don't do extra pre-rendered cutscenes. It's just in the game engine and it plays. So it's a lot, easier to pass something off as gameplay that could be not technically, but so I guess it's what you're after. If you're like, how does this game play or what does this game look like? Because I think that now we get a really good sense of what things look like regardless, because so much is done in engine. But how something plays is obviously what the let's do a demo gives you a better sense of.
Yeah, and I guess I'm more into let's do a demo. I think trailers are for, online and for advertising. And like, yeah, you can have trailers as part of big events, but I don't know, when it's something like this, I look for like, what are we going to see as we play the game? What are we going to do? Like, how do we interact? What is our movement going to be like? What will the world look like as we move through it? Not necessarily as like this cinematic, camera sweeps through it.
I personally love the cadence of like in movie terms. Oh, here's a teaser trailer. All right. So here's a thing to show you what's coming a year from now, 6 months from now, whatever, in movie time to like whet your appetite. Like, are you interested in this thing or not? And then some time passes and then we get like a story trailer and we understand a little more like, okay, what is this actually about a little bit? And then the commercial spots after that get to be like pretty detailed. And I don't like to me, then I don't need all that stuff. But in the gaming sense, if a game's a long ways out, it's nice to know that they're working on something and to get excited about it. And then to have a little while later a story trailer that really like puts together like the emotionality or sets up this world or something. And then as things get closer to the game being out, then you give us, how is this going to play? Because if we wait for like Avowed to get gameplay, well, then we just won't hear about the game for 3 years.
Exactly.
And then there'll be gameplay and then it will be out in 3 months, which we could do, but like, people have taken a cue from Sony here for a while now. Like they've get people excited over the course of 4 years or whatever for a game to let them know what we're working on. Like this is what's coming down the pipe. And I
Right.
think that's where some people's disappointment was. The big games here, like the why we are excited.
Yep.
Most of those, besides Halo, they're all out some length of time. So all
Yes.
we're gonna get is a cinematic.
Yep. Yeah, and I think again, Xbox just has to be more deliberate about what they're doing, and I don't think it does work to necessarily kind of lump all these things together in like these wildly disparate time frames, showing like these, like, okay, here's like a cinematic trailer, here's a story trailer, here's some story and gameplay. Like I think it gets confusing, and again, I think it's it's a marketing mistake. Now, do I think that maybe they could separate this out a little bit, do, less like all at once releases, and maybe like break this into two, do more with like gameplay over here for like games that are coming right now or like are being released now on Game Pass, and then, kind of close out with like, ooh, look, here's like an exciting like sneak peek at something really big that's coming. Yeah, sure. Like you don't have to just like do the same kind of content with each other. You can mix it up a little bit, but I think this is too jumbled. It's too mixed up, and it's too disappointing when people expect one certain thing and they expect it to kind of carry over into the other games that, are being released so much later and they're not getting it.
To me, I was seeing, like, I would totally be okay with an event as well that was split up in like kind of release timelines, Whereas you kind of clearly stating this is within the next year, this is within the next 2 years, and this is our future. This is what early development,
Yeah.
I would totally be okay with that. To me, what the idea of this is, we get, like, they want you to buy into the Xbox ecosystem. And in doing so, like, this is our vision for the future of games. This is what you can expect, in part soon. But, if you buy an Xbox Series X, that's not something that you keep for 2 years and then change. It's not like a phone, You might
Right.
have the thing for 7 to 10 years, depending on the length of the generation. And
Right.
so this is literally the statement: be excited for this generation. Like, buy our $500 console, or, upgrade your PC and get it ready, because here it comes. This is what,
Yeah.
look forward to.
And I think that would be a stronger marketing strategy if they made that clearer. So
Sure.
they didn't really talk about the Xbox Series X. I mean, they talked about it a little bit. There's some sort of like, get excited. There was a little bit of like, get ready for PC. Look at these things that are available on Game Pass or coming to Game Pass. But it all got a little jumbled. I think I just needed like clearer signaling from them, a stronger like core message of, look, if it was, get excited for this generation, then say literally, this is the generation, like, and we're so excited to like start with Xbox Series X, talk a little bit about that, maybe move into, here's some early stuff, here's what's coming out later, now we're going to lump gameplay together because, we're so excited for this, it's right around the corner. I feel like I've just like in these like 3 minutes sort of put together a better organization anyway than this was. Like was game content there? Sure. Like did I have moments of being excited? Totally. But yeah, like I need clearer signposting for what exactly we're doing, with each game.
I wonder if, like, if it's been the, like, Nintendo that's shifted the way we look at some of this stuff, because this is very what I would expect from any E3 press conference, for
Sure.
going back years, and like Sony would have a similar kind of thing, big production showing, the slew of everything they have, plus third party partnerships and all that stuff or whatever, just to get people amped and pumped and to show people cool things coming their way. But maybe, I mean, maybe that's the temperature we're going to find in the room, is that it's, more along the lines of what you're expecting, where like a Nintendo would come out with a Nintendo Direct and talk about
Right.
a specific game that's coming soon,
Yeah.
And so it's like, in no more big shows, it'd be spreading out individual announcements
Mm-hmm.
and more focused. Like Nintendo, even when they did their E3 thing a while, a few years back, they would focus on one game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one year it was Breath of the Wild when the Switch was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the game. And there wasn't a lot about other games.
Mm-hmm.
This is the game that's coming out soon, and this is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But you risk then too doing stuff like the Nintendo Direct just had, where if you don't care about that one thing at all,
Right.
you don't care about the whole event,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
maybe things get more piecemeal, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously risk reward, like you said. You can either try and catch everybody, get like a big audience because they're each hoping for their individual interest to pop
Mhm.
up. But then I think you also risk alienating those same people when they get maybe 30 seconds and they're like, I'm tuning into an hour for this. You know, or I'm getting like a cinematic trailer when I thought I was getting, you hyped this event as gameplay, or you hyped this as an in-depth look, and I'm not feeling like this is an in-depth look. So
Mhm.
again, I feel like Xbox has a little bit of an issue with being clear in their marketing.
Hmm. I went and looked back. I have a list of all the games that were announced at the PlayStation event as well,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
going
yeah.
through them to see side by side. And um, I think, like, from my personal preference, if I had to like count up games I'm interested in,
Mhm.
personally, PlayStation would have the win here.
Sure.
Um, but on the other hand, the cool thing about today's Xbox event was they chose to show all the games they did because all these games are coming to Game Pass right
Yeah.
at launch, which is
Yeah.
kind of an incredible thing. So if I look at the lineup of PlayStation games, like there's a lot that I'm interested in, a lot of things that are out quite a ways.
Mhm.
But those will be $60 a piece to
Mhm.
try, hopefully they're good.
Right.
And I do appreciate the way they're changing the possibilities with the industry here of I would never buy Tell Me Why or
Mhm.
As Dusk Falls. I would never buy those games. And I would
Sure.
even look at a review to consider buying them. But if it's on a service I already have and reviews are amazing on there,
Mhm.
maybe I would try it. So I think that they're
Yeah.
making a really strong value proposition here.
Yeah, I agree. I also noted that at the end when they were saying, everything you see here coming to Game Pass. Like that I think was one of their strongest moves in closing out this event very strongly. You know what I mean? Like just like announcing that and being like, okay, well, this is all going to be available. That was great because it was like, oh, awesome. Like, I'm very interested, and like you said, I might take a chance now on some of these games being available that way rather than going out to buy them. Um, but now I'm thinking back at some of the games that, maybe I wasn't interested in right away, but now I'm considering.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So,
Um, the one thing that's become really clear to me in seeing now both of these events,
mhm.
not exactly back to back, but now we've got the like presumably the two biggest events for Sony and Microsoft done now for the year.
Right.
Um, is that the real winner in all of this, like platform wise and stuff, is if you're a PC gamer.
Yeah.
If you're a PC gamer and you're dedicated enough to have that and maintain it and do that, like, you win, because almost all these games are going to be coming to PC as well.
Yep.
Because that's part of the Game Pass, the Xbox platform.
Yep.
And when you look through the PlayStation games, most of those, if they're console exclusives, those are also coming to PC. And then PlayStation is in their mode now of bringing their own first party titles to PC after 6 months to a year or whatever.
Yep.
So it's sort of like that to me is like the clear winner in all of this.
I would agree.
It's kind of interesting. You know, it's like a market that I hear about talked about all the time is like on a downward trajectory. You know, Windows approaching end of its life, and you know, like anything mainstream. Yet PC gaming is clearly is in a bright spot right now.
Well, and I don't think we've, talked about this for a while, but I mean, with people staying at home, PC gaming, like it's experiencing a new surge, because people don't maybe want to invest in a console, or they want to wait till, one of the new consoles comes out, and they're like, oh, let me just like go through and try some PC gaming, take up my time. I spend a bunch of time on my computer anyway, so, why not have some of my entertainment be there as well? And I think it's always had, it's a market that's always had people who prefer it. It's definitely like diehard fans of PC gaming, but I think they're also expanding. And I think that companies are really paying attention to that.
Well, and it wasn't all that long ago, I'd say, that any game that was in the like mainstream discussion in the gaming community was relatively high demand. You know, when I worked at Best Buy before, I'd always have people coming in there wanting to get a laptop, and they also want something they can play a few games. I'm like, okay, well, what games do you mean? Because we're looking at two very different things here.
Not everything is suited for this.
Now we have so many indie games that are really designed to be able to run on your phone or on the Switch or on almost anything, and so there's a lot of games that can be had and played if you have kind of a regular nice-ish laptop and Game Pass. You might be able to play a few things.
That's right.
So so you sound were there any games that stood out to you, I guess? Something that you are excited for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still am excited for Halo. To me, that's a little like bit nostalgic. So I am excited for Halo. State of Decay looked amazing. Like the 15 seconds I saw of it looked absolutely fantastic. So I'd be interested to keep seeing more. Outer Worlds, I loved everything about that, promo. Like that was so funny. It was like this like almost 80s style promo where they like did this, it's like a poppy comic book, overlay of text and title. And the announcer's like, oh, in a world where this and this, like, I don't know. It was a lot of throwbacks. So it was just like a really clever promo, I thought, but it also looked like fun. Also looked like something I would be interested in playing. The other trailer that I thought was insanely clever was Grounded. They start off by like, if you're looking for the biggest thing, wait until Cyberpunk. But if you're looking for the littlest thing, like it was just really clever and kind of like a, a little cute call out, like a, self-aware call out of like the gaming community. So I thought that was pretty cute. Yeah, so those were ones I thought were really fun and kind of got me a little bit. Ori really looked beautiful. I was really impressed with that side-by-side demo. honestly.
Yep.
I thought you could definitely see a clear difference between the two. So that got me really interested. Plus, it just is a beautiful game, I think.
Right.
So, yeah, I think those were
Okay.
some of the ones I
Yep.
really remembered. And then, of course, I remembered Jack Black and his little
Yeah.
cute appearance there,
Yep.
his performance.
Yep.
I forget what a good singer he is because
Yeah, he's great.
he tends to be funny or like do character singing.
Uh-huh.
So I forget how good of a voice he actually has when he tries.
Did you get the chance to watch that little Ninja Theory video on YouTube? It was
I don't remember.
Senwa's Saga, and I just took note of it because we were just talking about how Ghost of Tsushima partnered with
Yes.
the
Oh, yes,
island of
yes, yes.
Tsushima,
Yeah, I had a note
and
about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
and it was just, it's the beginning making of, kind of follow us along the way, and it was really cool
Yeah.
and looks like a lot of fun, and it just reminded me, like, they've been doing this stuff in games for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I remember watching making of Riven, and Myst games and stuff, and how they were talking about going down south and getting pictures of textures on like the Adobe buildings and different stuff,
Right.
and bringing that all back for. So I like that element of it, and if we get to see more of that process, it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. That always interests me so much. Just like, you know, seeing where people get their inspiration and how they translate that inspiration, because I think anything
Hmm.
can strike you and, leave a lasting impression. But then to translate that to an audience and try to convey what that impression is and how it might make you feel, that's tough. So I'm always interested to see how people do that.
Do you remember what you rated the PlayStation event?
I don't, mostly because I don't remember what scale we were using.
Oh, I figure like A to F, but yeah, I don't know. Um,
I don't know if we were using a letter
I
or a number scale.
Yeah, I think I thought I had given it a B.
Okay.
And to me, off of this, I was going to give this one about a B plus. I'd
Okay.
have to look back and see. But what are your thoughts? If you had to rate, and maybe if you don't remember the PlayStation one because it was a little while ago already, but this event for sure, what would you
Yeah.
give it?
I was actually gonna go like the other way and give it a B minus.
Okay.
Like I said, I thought it was strong, but there were organizational elements that I sort of wish, you know, were a little clearer.
Hmm. I can't like um if I compare the two, I'm more excited for Horizon, the second one, than
Yeah.
I am for Halo. And there's just some other games that I'd say seem closer that I'm
Hmm.
excited for from the PlayStation side than on the Xbox side.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed at all this stuff coming to Game Pass. And I personally really liked the flow and the beat and the pacing of this. I thought the
Hmm.
PlayStation event, though I liked those in between graphic morphing things as they're like slowly gonna reveal the console, was cool.
Yeah.
It was this weird like break, weird pause. And I
Yes.
thought this show kept moving from beginning to end. They didn't talk about like anything else, or like they didn't chatter on about something. They literally introduced things, got moving, game to
Yeah.
game to game to game. And so I thought it was a well done. I liked the presentation, even though I would have been excited if there was one or two more games that seemed like they were closer to
Yeah.
coming out.
Yep.
So
I agree. Yeah, I think the awkward moment for me here was talking a little bit about the Series X console. It was kind of like
mhm,
maybe about 15 to 20 minutes through, like early on, they sort of like stopped and sort of like talked about it and were like sort of showing some like design elements, and they were like, "Oh, the power of the Series X." And then it just
Mhm.
like totally broke away, and I was like, "But what was I supposed to take from that?" Like, I'm not really
Yeah.
sure. Were you like showing me? Were you not showing me? Is this more like conceptual? Was this like abstract? Is this like the actual, Series X? Like, I don't know. I thought that that beat was like a little weird. So I'm sort of glad it, like, I agree that it it was better because it didn't take as long as the
Mhm.
reveal of the PlayStation, because that moment was very awkward, very long, broke it up a little bit too much, I thought. But yeah.
I'll be interested to see what um and it's going to be hard for me to find good takes on like what like judge the room and see how people respond to this,
Yeah.
because um I was listening to a podcast while I was working out today, and admittedly this podcast network has pretty good ties to Sony, but it was so Sony bias that
Hmm.
I just was kind of stunned.
Almost
And
couldn't trust
they,
it.
yeah, well, I mean, PlayStation won so handedly in this last generation that's going
Hmm.
to obviously have a lot more fans. So, like, judging the room, you're going to be judging it based on most people being pretty big fans of the
Yeah.
PlayStation platform and not like seeing a need to, consider something else at this point.
Hmm.
So it'll be, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to listen to the pundits and the different outlets giving their 2 cents on things. Because I found this podcast, they kept saying something like, I just don't see a reason why I need to buy a Series X when I have an Xbox right now that
Hmm.
is going to play all this stuff. I'm like, okay, so are you upset that you don't need to spend $600 to play these games?
Right.
Like you already have the thing, like, wow, how is that a negative?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then it was like, well, there's so much variety. There's a lot of variety here. And like most of it wasn't interesting to me or something
Oh, I
versus
actually
something that
liked
was
that.
interesting on the PlayStation event. It's like, again, yeah, what's wrong with variety? Like, of
Yeah,
course, you're not going to be personally interested in something if it's a variety of kinds of games.
right.
But the point is to try to have something for everyone. So it's
Well,
weird. It
and
kept like bringing up things that sound like positives, but to them it was a negative.
yeah, that's strange to me, because I that was one of the things that I really did like, was I thought the variety of games that they showed here, because I mean, there are plenty of things that I'm not sure that I would be interested in just like hearing about them, but seeing them, it's like, "Oh yeah, like maybe I am interested in that." And um oh, now they're telling me it's available on Game Pass. Sure, yeah. I mean, maybe it's something different for me, but I'll give it a try. So, I don't know. I think if you get too stuck in like, this is what I like, you never try a new game, and you never maybe potentially, fall in love with something new.
Yep. I mean, Ashley's a great example of using the service of Game Pass or just like branching out
Yeah.
to other things. Like she had in her mind for a long time certain kinds of games she didn't like, but then she
Mhm.
ended up trying one and it clicks and just
Yeah,
really broadened the types of games that she's into. Um,
exactly.
um, in the past couple of years. So um, I don't know. It'd
Yeah,
be interesting.
I find it funny how many people are just so down on Xbox. Um, and I say I find it funny, but really I find it irritating, because I tend to agree that PlayStation is winning, but if there was no Xbox, what would PlayStation have to strive for? You know what I mean? Like, competition is healthy. And I think it's a good thing. And perhaps, Xbox isn't winning right now, but maybe someday in the future, like, they're so challenged that like we're finally gonna beat PlayStation. We're gonna do all that we can, that maybe sometime in the future they do. Maybe sometime everybody agrees that Xbox wins this round. Um, or, for PlayStation, having that, sort of like um sense of, we're striving to keep our trophy and keep our number one status drives them to work harder and do better and develop better. I mean, I would hope that everybody, just works at their jobs and develops games because they love them and because they're so
Mhm.
excited and they want to do the best job possible. But I think it does bring something extra when you have that spirit of competition. And I don't know. I think if people just get down on Xbox so much, then why are they going to try? And I think when they do try, at least they're trying to make things better. And I think they're pushing PlayStation to be better too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worked the other way around right now. I
Hmm.
mean, Microsoft had a large, obvious disadvantage in lack of original IP for their systems, and therefore they bought like 9 different game companies.
Hmm.
That's a direct response, and that's going to take time for that to yield results, but that's a response there.
Right.
Um, at the same time, Microsoft has pushed cross-play, cross-platform stuff, in
Hmm.
terms of if you're on one game, Rocket League on this system, you should be able to cross-play and play with someone on the Switch.
Yeah.
That's pushed Sony into doing this as well. Like they've kind of forced their hand here. Microsoft is really pushing on backwards compatibility.
Hmm.
Sony, I think, would just completely forget about that element, but they're
Hmm.
going to have to respond to that sort of pressure. So they
Yeah.
definitely are pushing each other, and I think it's a great thing. I think that um, I still think there's plenty of PlayStation fans that are a little butthurt that their system won't be as powerful again as the and and that Microsoft said they don't really see Sony as their primary competition. Phil
they,
Spencer said our real competition is Amazon and Google,
yeah.
because they
They,
see the
they,
future in the cloud.
yeah. I mean, they say that, but like right now, that's not a reality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like right now, PlayStation is their competition.
Right.
Perhaps in the future, if Game Pass, keeps going, if they keep developing the way that they're doing, yeah, sure. But no, right now, PlayStation is your competition. And like you pointed out, I think that the two companies making moves forces the other to respond in a way that I think many fans like. They
Mhm.
just don't want to give the other company credit.
Yeah. Well, and it pushes, um, for instance, Sony went to Amazon first to talk about support for their backend cloud infrastructure because Sony knows as well that
Right.
they're going to need game streaming is going to be important for them in the future, but they don't have the infrastructure to do that.
Right.
So they went to Amazon and Amazon turned them down. They
Hmm.
said no because Amazon is going to do their own thing and we're not going to help you, Sony, get ahead.
Yep.
So then they went to Microsoft and Microsoft said, sure, yeah, come on, we'll be the back end support for your future streaming platform. So
Hmm.
I do see a future where Microsoft is kind of the backbone. Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are set up these three um, those will be the distinct platforms upon which you're streaming and downloading your games to
Right.
whatever device you own.
Right.
And so Sony needs to keep up there if they want to play in that game, or they're just going to end up having their own PlayStation streaming service available on something else, on everything.
Hmm.
So, but anyways, yeah, future stuff for sure. I always talked about like the death of the console, the death of the PC, and that stuff always it comes slowly.
Yeah.
Like things change slowly.
Yeah.
So,
They hang on for longer than you think.
yep. Well, any other things about the Xbox event? It was a lot, so like we could go over individual games a bunch or something, but it was a lot of stuff. So,
It was, yeah. Any favorites or anything that gets you particularly excited?
um, well, I will, of course, play Halo.
Mhm.
I've played all the other ones, so I'm hopeful that that's good. And otherwise, like really looking at it, Um, Everwild by Rare. I commented that it's like a druid hippie game.
Yeah.
Uh, that one and Avowed
Yeah.
by Obsidian.
Hmm.
Um, Both those I think have real potential, but are probably at least 2 years out. So,
Hmm. Yeah, those were definitely like small little snippets.
mhm. And I'm interested in other things. Don't get me wrong. I just like what has me at, if I'm something I'm excited about, that's what
Hmm.
I'm really excited about.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
overall,
Go
I
ahead.
thought it was a good event. Like you said, a lot of content stuck in there. They moved it along nicely, so it didn't really feel like an hour.
Mm,
Like they made it feel like it was moving quickly, which was nice. They didn't really do a whole lot of exposition. There was just, like, hey, I'm here, or we have the game developer. They just want to say a few words. Cool, next thing. Um,
yep.
so that was fun. Like I said, I mixed feelings about it. I think it was overall well done, but there were just some like smaller disappointing elements.
Sure. Well, there were a couple games in here that looked kind of comic booky. Oh, Fantasy Star Online too. Towards the end,
Mhm.
that definitely was an anime kind of thing. And the first panel you
Yes.
talked about for Comic Con at Home was an anime
Yeah.
panel by
That's right.
Crunchyroll.
That's
You have
right.
lots of notes here.
I know. I swear I won't go through all of them. So I mean, first off, did you get to watch anything from Comic-Con at home today?
I got to see the let's see, I got to see a little bit of the Truth Seekers panel
Nice. Okay.
talk or whatever, and the New Mutants,
Okay.
which I was pleasantly surprised. I tuned in when New Mutants was coming on because that's the
Yeah.
one thing out of basically all this has happened so far I'm actually excited about. So,
Yeah. Yeah, well, we can definitely get to that. Yeah, I thought it was a really nice setup the way that they did everything. Because of course, they say like events are going live at a certain time, but it's really just like a pre-recorded YouTube that you can then access at that time.
hmm,
You know what I mean?
okay,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really nice that you can like start and stop at your own pace. Like you don't have to like worry, oh my God, if I'm not tuning in live, I'm missing
yeah,
it. So I really like this because that's something that's certainly a consideration for me. Like I still have to work. I can't always just be like stopping and tuning into this.
right.
So I thought this format was really great. But yeah, so I started off the day checking out a Crunchyroll panel. Um, and I mean, I thought they had some cute stuff. Like they showed a lot of previews for what's coming in the summer, in the latter half of the summer anyway, and into the fall. Um, and they showed new shows. They showed some shows that we're finally getting. Like I said, my teen romantic comedy Snafu is finally getting a season 3 after 4 years. So a lot of people appeared very excited about that in some
Mm,
chats and things like that. Um, but they also, use the time to do some promo for their own events, which I thought was really interesting and I think is something that we'll see a lot from groups. Um, I know that I'm not remembering if it's Friday, if it's tomorrow. Yeah, it is. So tomorrow at 10 is the DC Comic Con day home at day one at home, and I'm
oh, okay,
imagining they'll do like a promo for their own event too. They're kind of
right.
like springboarding off of how well Comic Con is recognized to be like, hey, we're having our own thing. Tune in then.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so Crunchyroll definitely took advantage of that. Also, obviously promoted their partnership with HBO Max to be like, hey, we're on a new platform. While you're
So
watching
what's that
Westworld,
about?
check this out.
Yeah, what's that about?
Just a lot of their shows are now on HBO Max. Like you can access them
Okay.
through HBO Max. So this
Huh.
is this is what I was talking about the other day that I couldn't remember. I'd seen it on like the bottom of the HBO Max homepage, like all of their partners. that they're hosting content from, and one of them is Crunchyroll. So you can access like all of Crunchyroll's um, content through HBO Max as well.
So you're telling me so can I unsubscribe from Crunchyroll because
That
it's
I don't
all there,
know.
or is it just some?
I think it's just some, but I haven't delved too deeply, so I don't know like if there's a particular show that you might be thinking of that wouldn't be on HBO Max but would be on Crunchyroll. My impression is that it's most content, but I don't know that I can say for 100% certainty that it's all content.
Right. Look at my background. It's the free Crunchyroll background.
That's right. They're showing their free giveaways of downloads you can do for backgrounds and meetings and stuff. So
Yeah.
that was pretty
Yep.
fun, I thought. That was a
Yeah,
cute
got
little
one.
I mean, that was like way to like roll with the times, People are
Yeah.
looking for
Right.
some fun stuff. Um, and then the other thing I thought they talked about that was interesting was they have Crunchyroll games, and I had no idea about that.
Okay.
So they have like a
Um,
whole like available gaming platform.
but
I d-
like online like flash games, or just like stuff that they sponsor.
yeah,
I'm
I'm very confused by
'cause-
it because I had no idea that it was even a thing. Um, so yeah, so they were talking about like there were so it's you can play Crunchyroll games on Google Play. And they're getting into mobile
uh,
gaming.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they were talking about Naruto versus Boruto as like one of their prime examples of like a game that they have available for you.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, I had no clue, and I was like, wow, I'm really behind on this one, but it was a good way to announce it, I think, and make sure people know about it
Yeah.
now that they're kind of launching that. So
Crunchyroll's great. I'm glad they're working on having, they have all their own merchandise for a lot of things. And
mhm,
like you say, if they're entering this partnership with HBO, that's great.
mhm.
Uh, it's good.
Yeah, it feels like they're really kind of like legitimizing themselves. I know they've been a great platform for a long time, but they're just like taking it to another level.
Yep, sure. Um, Looks like you got Star Trek stuff. I mean, have
Mhm.
you been watching any of these Star Trek
Well,
things?
Lower Decks is not available yet, so no.
Hmm,
um, but I have watched some of Discovery and I have watched
okay.
some of Picard.
Okay.
So I'm sort of reacquainting myself with the Star Trek universe. Um, So yeah, so they kind of broke this panel up into three different sections. They had Discovery, where they had a table read from the cast of like the season 2 finale episode, which was interesting and fun, and yet also rather tough to get through.
Really?
Um, yeah, because I mean they had it's just literal dialogue. Like you don't get to see anything. They had some like
Right.
storyboards and like some illustrations that they were kind of like popping up in these really like intense sequences. But other than that, you were really just relying on the actors to sort of give you a cue for what even was happening. Um,
Okay. Interesting.
so it was a little tough. Plus,
Yeah.
some of the actors definitely came and they brought their A game and they were just like there and they were in it. And then some of them were just like, well, I'm just like reading a script. Like it was very
Yeah.
chill and
Right.
relaxed. Like, why are
Yep.
you getting all emotional about saying your lines? Like, I'm just saying my lines.
Right.
Um, like Michelle Yeoh was just like all there. She was bringing it. She
I
just
mean,
like
I
she had
can
facial expressions. She would like shift in her chair and just like eye people up. And then
I
Anson
expect
Mount.
nothing less.
I agree. She was fantastic. But then like Anson Mount was just like, hello, I am reading my lines now. I am the captain. Like it was terrible.
Nice. Yeah.
So um so yeah, that was an interesting kind of half discussion with the cast, but mostly just like a table read. Um
Okay.
But then the panel jumped into introducing a totally new show called Star Trek Lower Decks,
Hmm.
and that is like a cartoon style um look at, the crew of a ship that, isn't like the captain. We're not making like first contact. We're not um, discovering places and making treaties.
Sure.
We're doing like the secondhand jobs. Like, we've
Okay.
already made first contact. Now we're like registering the planet, like, you know, getting them in the
Yep.
log, like, oh, if tourists want to go there, let's describe the best places to eat or the things to see. Like, so they have the very like not fun jobs. Um,
Right.
but it was like a very irreverent, like Family Guy style cartoon, I felt. Um,
Interesting.
they showed a couple of early scenes that they're developing. It was very, very funny. Um, very different from anything I think in the Star Trek universe. They've never had something really funny before. I mean, I know the
Right.
Orville is kind of like a spoof off of Star Trek, but it's not technically belonging to the Star Trek universe. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's to me is great Star Trek right there. The
Yeah.
Orville.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, so
okay.
this is going to be available August 8th. So pretty soon. And it'll be
Okay.
available via CBS All Access.
Okay.
And then we shifted into gathering the cast of Picard, which was great. I mean, Sir Patrick Stewart is always a good time. And you could really tell like the whole cast had just this like great camaraderie with each other. They were just, making fun of each other, sharing lots of inside jokes about, what should they call Patrick Stewart? Is it SPS for Sir Patrick Stewart, or does he prefer pea stew? Um, which spoiler
Oh,
alert, he prefers pea stew. Um,
okay.
and
Gross.
then they were trying to see, like, somebody called one of the cast members a space cowboy, but then like every time another cast member would come on, they were like, "Well, I'm the real space cowboy." Um,
Okay. None of them are the real space
I
cowboy.
know, I know,
Because it's not Cowboy Bebop. So
I
get out of here
know.
with that.
It was
Get
very
out of
funny
here.
though. They were clearly like mocking everything and just being like, "Well, I'm the space cowboy." So it was a really fun way to close out the panel, even if like I can see the steam coming out of your ears where you're like, "You're not a space cowboy."
If I was hosting that, if there was a host, like things would have got
There,
awkward quickly. Like,
just shut it down.
let's shut this shit down right now, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
no, their moderator rolled with it. Um, and it was fun because they closed out with some fan questions.
Hmm.
So they got to talk to like Sir Patrick Stewart about, how did you feel about, reuniting with this cast? How did you feel about getting closure for Picard and Data in a more meaningful way now? And then they were talking to some of the other cast members like Jerry Ryan about what should we take from, Star Trek and this universe and the show of Picard, and maybe, normally, shows are a reflection of the world. What should maybe the world be a reflection of from Star Trek? So that I thought that was kind of an interesting question to ask.
Hmm. Yeah, I know two pretty big Star Trek fans. One being our producer Alan here, and then the other being Ryan. And
Yeah,
I don't know what Alan's thoughts are, but Ryan hates this stuff. He
really?
despises it. He says this is not
Why?
Star Trek. In uh, Tara and Emily. Oh yeah, Tara as
Yeah,
well.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Um, and well, so the idea was always that Star Trek was a hopeful vision of the future where
Mhm.
you would use your brains to get out of situations, outsmart the enemy, outthink people,
Yeah.
and then like you'd be talking about interesting, potentially philosophical things in the missions you encounter and whatever. And that's
Mhm.
something that the show The Orville does so well.
Yeah.
Like they add some humor, it's
Mhm.
funnier, but they do those kinds of things well. Whereas these new Star Trek shows are dark, gloomy, like depressing views of the world in many ways. And it's I don't know. I've never been a really big Star Trek fan, so I don't have the same strong opinions. Ryan also feels that Picard blatantly ripped off a video game storyline, in pretty severe ways. So he's not a fan of that either. Yeah, Mass Effect 2. So
I get that. It's just hard for me to like think of anything that Patrick Stewart does is wrong.
Yeah, but see, it doesn't sound like those characters even resemble what they were. You know, like it does.
They do.
I mean, again, I'm speaking from a third person perspective here.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't I should hold some of my judgment because I haven't seen it all the way through yet. But I mean, I don't think it's like unrecognizable.
Sure.
But I may feel differently. I might come back after I finish and just be like, John, I gotta tell you, gotta go on a rant here.
Well, you know, different people are looking for different things from Star Trek, from Star Wars, and it changes by generation for sure. Right. So, you know, is definitely by different perspectives. And yeah, but see, fitness trainers back in the chat. Thanks for showing up again.
Hey.
We're going through Comic-Con at home things so far. Truth Seekers.
Yeah.
Truth Seekers panel. I had no idea that this was a thing.
No, I didn't either.
But new show from Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. Cautiously excited. I tend to love what they do, but it could also be, you know, this is the thing that they do one too many times. You know what I mean? Sure. Like they tend to, I feel like, make a certain kind of movie or show or, you know, media, whatever it might be. And this could be the thing where, you know, we just don't fall in love with it. Like they have a very distinct style blending, you know, either horror or, you know, like adventure or something and comedy in a very distinct way. And this could be the thing that we're like, not as good.
Well, I mean, nothing's really hit the highs of their earlier work, you know, in terms of success. I don't think, you know, bringing in the money. So, but to me, like, I'm okay with the more of the same if we get enough space in between each one.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not overloaded. Because to me, it's like, yeah, it's been a while since we've had that kind of shtick. You know, let's try that again. So
yeah, this seems like a fun premise, you know, following some ghost hunters as they sort of bumble their way through, you know, scary situations. And I love that, you know, as they were talking about it, that it was inspired by Simon and Nick's real life ghost hunting adventures together. I thought those were some great stories that they were telling, you know, about their real life experiences doing this. So yeah, I think it's fun when you make a show when it's something you care about personally.
Yeah.
Or that you have experience doing.
Yeah, I liked I thought the interview, that at least what I saw, the interview was a little short with Nick Frost, but otherwise I enjoyed it. You said this is kind of X-Files inspired. Well, we're going another X franchise.
Yeah, that's
X-Men,
right.
The
New Mutants.
So
did you like love the way this panel opened? Because I did.
Yes, I did. That was great.
I love that they poked fun at themselves and did some like self-deprecating humor over all the delays that this movie has experienced. Yes. Like, you gotta just like take it and roll with it and make it into something that people can now think of as funny. And they did. They totally nailed it.
Yes.
I thought it was interesting though. So they said it was coming out August 28th, 2020. Fingers crossed, you know, that this is real. But they did not say in theaters.
Right.
So
they're gonna do what
I'm
all the others should have done, right?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I mean, I'm fairly certain that they're not going to roll it out in theaters, so they're going to make this available, you know, virtually, digitally. Um, I'm good with it. Just get it out already. Like, I don't think you can delay this anymore.
Hey, you didn't you didn't like the posters that they had made,
No,
like the official ones that they were
no.
giving away or whatever. Oh,
I liked one of them, and then some of the others
okay.
were just too like, I don't know, felt like a YA novel or like tweeny boppery. They're just like dramatic poses, and I was just like, I'm not really feeling it. It's not. I didn't feel like originality. Like there was one or
Okay.
two of them that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're cool, but yeah, I was much more interested in the fan art because the fan art felt more unique.
Sure. Yep. Well, let me take a moment here to share with you my nerdy hopes and dreams right here now related to
Okay.
cartoons. So I really, really would like this movie to one, be amazing. So release for us to buy or whatever. And I hope
Yeah.
that it's amazing and people too buy it up. Like all
Yeah.
these other movies are getting delayed, pushed back, whatever, like market this thing, put it
Mhm.
out there. I hope it's awesome and people buy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Then put it on Disney Plus, and I hope it does well there too. And I
Yeah.
hope the fan reaction is so good because this movie is so awesome and the characters are so like true to the comic book form and whatever that they incorporate this into the greater MCU. That's my nerd hopes and dreams that will likely be crushed and squandered within 6 months.
I was gonna say, so you're not asking for a lot.
You don't think so? Perfect. Let me add on some more things.
Yeah, yeah, just pile it on. What's your
Yeah.
ultimate wish list, John? This seems all reasonable.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I want this to be successful. I mean, it's been pushed out so much and it's gotten so much flack for all of that. But at the end of the day, I guess I'd rather have it be pushed back and be good than, rushed out and just, be like another Dark Phoenix.
Mm. Well, I
So,
mean, it was pushed back so much. I think it was pushed back the first time for reshoots and stuff. But
yeah.
after that, it was because of the whole being uncertain with the acquisition,
Yeah.
So that's not their fault.
Yep.
And this doesn't seem related strongly to the other X-Men franchise films.
Yeah, it
Sounds
doesn't
like
seem
it
related at
started
all, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like it started more closely connected. That's what they were saying. And then it kind of
Mhm.
started to deviate more.
Mhm.
So I just think if this is great, don't throw away something great. Like, don't throw
Mhm.
it out. We got Deadpool. They're
Mhm.
supposedly bringing Deadpool into things.
Yep.
We'll see. If this is awesome, don't throw these castings look great.
Yes.
They look really nice. And I like the idea of an X-Men world film that's darker, has some horror elements to it and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
What they showed at the beginning and then of course like showing us the entire opening scene at the end and then moving again into more of a trailery kind of um video, so
mhm.
much darker than anything
Yep.
I've seen from X-Men.
Yeah.
And true dark, not just like, I mean, X-Men can be dark, but they always try to like find, the humorous comedic elements. So I think there's just like a lot more lightness to it. This just kind of like dark all the way.
Yeah. Uh, you know, Marvel's been one, Marvel proper here in their films, to not shy away from focusing on and including lesser known characters and
Mhm.
making something of them,
Mhm.
And so I would love to see them introduce mutants into that world
Mhm.
without having it need to be Wolverine,
Yeah.
Cyclops, Jean Grey, like the Cannonball that's in here has a storied history, he can be in it. Colossus, that's in Deadpool,
Right.
his sister is in this. Like, you can already tie things together here.
Right.
Just like, don't they're not going to do it because Kevin Feige and his pride is not exactly my plan. I didn't come up with this. I can't, whatever. I'm not going to accept someone else's work into my precious kingdom. So
Well,
it's
and I mean, I feel like it sort of depends, like, where do you want it to be put? You know what I mean? Like, when you say, like, you want it to be part of Marvel, like, what part of Marvel is being put in, to Deadpool? Like, is that, you know, like an acceptable, like, now we're part of mainstream Marvel, or is it like have to be like, oh, we're going to be in the Avengers,
well,
or we're going to be like in the second wave of Avengers, or, like, where do you think, like, making it part of the universe would feel okay to you?
well, clearly with purchasing the rights back to X-Men and that kind of thing, they and Fantastic Four,
Mhm.
their goal is to incorporate the mutants and those kinds of storylines into their universe. I mean, it's Wolverine has been one of the biggest comic book characters around, and they haven't owned him. They haven't been
Yep.
able to use the Fantastic Four, the first superhero family or whatever. They haven't been able to do anything with these properties. So they're of course going to bring in the idea of mutants. I'm just asking that when they do that, you bring in these characters.
I
This
see.
movie can sit anywhere time wise. I'm guessing it won't matter. It's going to take place in this asylum or whatever,
Mhm.
and nothing else will matter on the outside. So it can take place at any point in time. But these actors are young. They seem
Mhm.
well casted. If
Yeah.
they do these characters well, I'm just asking, there's no extra baggage with them now. Like, they're
Mhm.
not attached to other X-Men films. You're not like trying to pull pieces here and there. It's
Sure.
this film. Take them and use them. And you can use them to connect to Deadpool if you want. Like I say, with
Mhm.
Colossus and stuff. So that's what I'm hoping. We don't need to
Okay.
see the X-Men team proper right away. They can
Sure.
start with these kids. Like, they already change around origin stories and stuff or whatever, like it's um I don't know. That's my dream.
Well, I mean, it's certainly a possibility, and I thought that, this panel was really well done. I thought it provided us a great sneak peek of New Mutants. We finally, like I said, got to see some of the actual movie, not just some of the trailer. So it was really fun. It was well done, well put together. The cast seemed like they really enjoyed each other, had great working relationships with one another. Like you said, they're young, they're energetic and excited about these roles. So, who knows, if this does
Yeah.
well, we could have a future.
Have you heard Stranger Things guy talk in the trailer
Charlie
yet?
Charlie Heaton?
Yeah.
You mean as part of the movie?
Yeah. Did you hear
No.
him speak in his role? Okay.
I
Supposed to have a southern accent.
I
So
I should say I did, for like the briefest of seconds. It was during one of those clips where, like the moderator was talking to each of the cast members about their character, and then they showed like a brief clip of, whoever they were.
yeah.
And I heard him, but I couldn't, he said so little I couldn't tell you what he sounded like.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, all this my hopes could be dashed here because it might not be any good. The
Yeah.
characters might be real far off from what they originally were.
Mhm.
It sounds like they worked with the creator and, like,
Yeah.
cared source. So I
Yeah.
liked that.
I agree. He seemed
But
very happy with, the direction everything was going. Um and I mean, you could say like, "Oh, he has to say that." He's talking right there in front of the actors, but I mean, if that were truly the case, if he was unhappy, didn't think this was going to work, didn't think they stayed true to what he had envisioned, he didn't have to come on that panel.
right. Didn't have to be there, right? And New
So,
Mutants is I mean, I don't know how it's selling, but it seems like a hot running book right now,
yeah.
comics. It's, Jonathan Hickman relaunched X-Men in a big way this
Mm-hmm.
last year, and The New Mutants is a book that he's been writing continually, and it's been enjoyable. And characters like Sunspot are in there, and don't waste this, Marvel. Don't waste it.
You've been warned.
Yeah. All right. I didn't watch the boys panel because I didn't want
Yeah,
spoilers.
I agree. I watched like 5 minutes of it, just when they were all kind of introducing themselves and being like, "Oh, I'm so excited," and what's a really great memory of each other. And I was like, "Okay, this is all very generic," and I'm just kind of seeing the cast together. And then they were like, "Okay, let's dive into season 2," and I was like, "Bleh, gone."
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it really made me excited to watch The Boys, though. I mean, I know we've been talking about it for a long time, but the I was just reminded how great the cast is. So
Right. Yeah, for sure.
we'll have to get to that.
This next one is definitely an up your alley, right?
I was gonna say it was all me. I was very excited about it. So yeah, it's a panel celebrating 20 years of Harry Dresden, based on the Dresden Files books by Jim Butcher. They have expanded a little bit into graphic novels. He was talking about an RPG game that has been developed. There's even been talk of a video game that they're looking to produce. He said if he had his druthers, he'd really like it to be in a sort of like Fallout style. So I thought that was very interesting. So I immediately, of course, like went back and was trying to imagine the Dresden Files in a Fallout video game type of situation. Can't quite picture it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I don't know enough. I know you or Phil or someone has told me about Dresden. I don't know
Yes.
I don't really know what it's about. I forget, but
Sure. Yeah, I'll go through a quick recap. So Dresden Files is about a wizard named Harry Dresden who lives in Chicago, and is a private investigator slash consultant for the Chicago PD. They've got a branch called Special Investigations, and it's basically just like a dead zone where all the weird cases go. Um, but the PD accidentally sends a very competent woman named Karen Murphy to head that department. And she's like, "Okay, well, you're sending me to a dead zone, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to take this job and solve some cases." And so she reaches out to Harry, to say, "I've got all these weird cases. I can't explain them. You advertise yourself as a wizard and as a wizard private investigator. So, come work with me." And the books are all about, kind of their developing relationship as they go through and solve these different cases. Um, you know, a lot of the times based on something that comes up for the Chicago PD, but then as the books get into um, the storyline a little bit more, it kind of focuses more around Harry's life as a wizard and the other supernatural elements that come into it, like the politics of dealing with, other supernatural creatures, mostly vampires. Um, and then like the fairy folk, which include like what we think of as fairies, but then also like more powerful beings. He has to deal with like necromancers. He has to deal with the wizards white council, and
okay.
it's just it kind of delves deeper and deeper into these different supernatural um worlds, and
Are
moves on
there
from
like alliances made and stuff, like
yeah
different? So that's why it would fit so well with Fallout.
yeah
Like because it's a Fallout is a lot about like there's always different factions that have different
yes
motivations and things at play,
yes
and so you need to like who are you gonna help?
Ye-
Who's really worth saving here, or who's
mhm.
really bad needs to be gotten rid of. So it's those big choices that affect
Yes.
the larger picture.
Yes, that's very much what it's about in the later books. Like I said, in the first kind of, you almost can divide it into two sections. In the first section, like it's very like procedural cop drama with, these supernatural elements that are very
Hmm.
strongly in there. They're not just like haphazard. But they do focus more around like, okay, we're going to solve a singular case or, a series of cases, and it's going to be very like, this is how we go about it. And then in the second half of it really broadens and opens up in scope, and it's very like, where is Harry going to align himself right now? What different factions of, the vampire courts, because there are 3 of them, and there's 6 different
Mm,
courts of the fairy people. They're mostly a summer and a winter court headed by 2 like, all powerful fairies, but they've got all these different factions within them. How do they all relate to each other? How do they like pop up in human Chicago? How does the police department like handle all of this? Um, there's werewolves over here that Harry occasionally aligns himself with, and yeah, it's really a well-built universe. um Jim Butcher writes it so vividly, so strongly. He really takes time to explain how everything works, and then you just sort of relate to it through Harry, who is a really fun main character. He's sarcastic. um he's kind of got a mouth that gets him in trouble, but also is very funny, of course, as a reader, to read some of his lines. And he's got some great
sure.
relationships that he builds over the series. So yeah, it's really well done. So this was just kind of fun because, like I said, it's 20 years since the first Dresden novel came out, and then he's having his 2 newest books come out this year: Peace Talks, which just came out on July 15th, and then Battleground, which is coming in September.
Hmm. Okay.
So,
Um,
yeah,
but you were
very,
happy with the panel then, or
yeah,
I
it was a
mean,
very fun interview. It was just, Jim Butcher, one-on-one with an interviewer, just talking about, what are some of your great moments? What are some weird moments? What should people remember, as they go into the new books? What, you know, has been your biggest challenge in writing them? How did you write the graphic novel? How was that different? How are you thinking about this in terms of developing it for a video game? So, yeah, it was a really fun one-on-one with Jim Butcher, and he's a very entertaining guy. You can definitely see some of his main character in him for
okay.
sure. And it works. So, yeah, if
So
anybody hasn't read Dresden Files, so highly recommend. Can't recommend enough. It's so good.
why is everybody, why is everybody named Harry? That's a wizard. They must have
Definitely not a Harry Potter.
they must have come out at a pretty close time, huh?
Mhm.
It's pretty similar, really.
Yeah, Butcher did not get recognized for the Dresden Files right away. He definitely had a long time where he like wrote these books, and his publisher was kind of like, they're interesting enough, and we're sort of, getting some interest and whatever. And then
Right.
around like the 4th or 5th book, they like really took off and just kind of exploded on him. And so now these latest are the 15th and 16th in his series, and he's planning to write, I think, about 23 or 24.
Wow.
So yeah, they're
Nice.
fun, quick reads, um, and just like really entertaining.
Quick for you, I'm sure. Quick for
Yeah.
me, not so much, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they're a couple hundred pages, so.
Okay. Okay. So this next one, I didn't know about this. Where is this? Like I was trying to find this. Dispatches from Middle Earth.
Well,
That
I
was
I
tonight?
yes, so it's supposed to be happening right now, um, because 6 p.m. Pacific time is 8 p.m. Central time.
Yeah.
So it's happening right now.
I
It should be
just
at the very end of the Thursday program. Obviously, I haven't watched it yet because, we're doing this.
yeah.
I don't want
We
to just excuse myself and tune out while I, watch a panel real quick, but
we could be watching it live. Um
live comments.
because yeah, this would definitely be interesting. So I assume this is about their new show slash maybe their
Hmm.
show and their game.
Yes, that is what the summary presented itself as.
Okay.
So hopeful.
Well, cool. That will be a fun one to talk about probably
Hmm.
next time here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be able to watch it tonight yet. Um, other things that are coming up that are interesting to you, I see a few things that stand out to me.
Yeah.
This list.
I definitely put one thing on there thinking that you were gonna be very excited about it. You can guess.
Which one would that be?
It's a Saturday.
Constantine movie reunion? Yeah. Yeah, that's comes out of nowhere. What's that
I
about?
know. I'm not really sure.
I
I'm
mean,
not
like
really
it's
sure what
just
the
for
point of that
fun?
is. I mean, I think so. They didn't really say like, "Oh, it's an anniversary," or, "Oh, it's so and so's, new thing with Constantine, so we better get the movie together." So, yeah, they're just having a reunion for the heck of it,
That's
honestly.
interesting. I mean, I would be in support like if DC's just going to do this scattershot approach and just like make all this stuff, like doesn't matter where it comes from. I would totally be down for another one.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I love the
so
Constantine movie, so I'd be in for that. I also thought you'd like the one before it too, the Dune panel.
yes, I saw that in there. I'm like, oh, I haven't even started Dune. I need to like
I haven't either. I need to get on
get
that.
moving on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but who knows at this point if that movie's gonna come out?
Yeah, really, who knows, when that'll happen. I feel like,
Yeah,
yeah, we're just keep getting these pushbacks, so who knows? Unless, m- like movie studios see that, New Mutants does well
I
and
know,
can do
right?
like a digital opening and it's fine and we should just do it. Just, roll the dice and do it.
I was thinking that as well. Um,
It'll be an interesting test.
oh yeah, the Lord of the Rings thing is on YouTube now. Um, so the yeah, I mean, eventually these studios are gonna be tired of not making money, I would think, and be like, man, we should bring in some money. Maybe we should put some movies out. So,
Mhm.
I'm excited too for the Lucasfilm publishing thing.
Yep.
So as I was going through making a new clip for next week when we were talking about the upcoming Lucasfilm stuff, I realized that's supposed to start in August,
Yeah.
which is very
Right.
soon. So I don't know how I'm going to read new Star Wars books and Dune at the same time. So,
Do it. I believe in you, John.
yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. I thought there wasn't going to be much, but I'm excited for some of this stuff here.
Yeah, I was pleasantly
Um,
surprised by some things.
mhm. And
Um,
looking online, looks like there's a chance then for some real focus on some actual comic books too.
yes, I agree. Yeah, the thing I was most excited about was Marvel Comics, the next big thing. Um,
Mm,
Talking about their newest release of Spider-Man and the reappearance of the Green Goblin. I thought that was pretty fun.
cool.
Um, I feel like Marvel is just doing a lot, especially with reinventing comics right now. Um,
What do you mean reinventing comics?
Reinventing characters. They're sort of like redoing a lot of
Oh,
their characters.
oh yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't phrase that very well. um, Also, I put on here Fear the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead panels because I was like, my God, who's still watching these shows? I'm
I
so
know,
I'm so
yeah.
done with Walking Dead. I was so into it. I loved it so much. Now I'm like, oh my God, it's still on. What are
Yep.
y'all doing?
Yeah.
So I was
It's
just giggling a little bit about that. Like, oh, you guys are still here.
definitely still fan base is just
Yeah.
it's not the cultural thing anymore.
Right. It's not the phenomena it once
Yep.
was.
It had its moment. And then I'd be interested to see the Ninja Turtles
I know. I thought
30th
that was
film
cute.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was definitely like calling out to me a little nostalgia right there. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Good for you guys, including this in there. Um, and then I was interested to see HBO Max. They're doing a lot of series actually on their cartoons throughout the Comic Con schedule, but then I was really most interested in seeing what they were going to talk about with their Looney Tunes debut.
Sure. Yeah.
So I put that on there. Um, and then I think the one other thing that I'm so pumped about is HBO's Lovecraft Country because I
Yeah.
love
So
HBO Lovecraft.
what's that
And
about?
so
I didn't know that was
yeah,
a thing.
they're gonna do a series based around a select number of H.P. Lovecraft stories because his stories all have a very similar setting. Like if you think back to the movie that we watched, oh my gosh, it's like The Color Purple.
Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space. Okay. Color Purple is something very different. Color Out of Space. Yeah. So they're all set in these sort of like New Englandy, rural
Mhm.
country, like old farmhousey kind of settings. So they're gonna kind of mishmash some of his stories together, is my understanding, and tell several of them over the course of a season.
Okay.
So
Huh.
I'm very excited about it. I mean, that's really all I know about it. They've been very tight-lipped about, what exactly is gonna go down, but like I said, I love H.P. Lovecraft and I love his stories, and I'm very excited for this.
Well, maybe we'll have to have Dustin on and talk about that because he had watched our samurai episode and
Yeah.
said he was bursting, not being able to contribute to the conversation. Like he just wanted to add things.
Oh god, did we
So
say
probably
things that were, like,
correct us
totally
too.
wrong? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
how much would be like, "Oh, no, stop talking."
Yep. But he's a Lovecraft fan as well. So
Awesome.
I am. But yeah. Well, a good lineup of things.
That's stuff to look forward to, and like I said, I love the
Yeah.
way that they're making all of their content accessible, and on your own time. It's just really
Yep.
nice to just feel like you've got that access and you can watch it when you want to.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that about covers today's crazy events and a little bit of what we have to look forward to. So, um, everybody, I hope you liked it.
Mhm.
Thanks, fitness trainer, for tuning in again. Um, we will have a little bit different schedule next week. Keep an eye on the YouTube page for a couple clips from
Mhm.
previous episodes you may not have seen before. And we'll be back with a full episode um, per usual next week. It won't be as odd day like now. And everybody make sure you follow us in all the places and like us in all the places and share us with all the people you care about. Um, Thank you to Killing the Flower for writing our theme song. Their music is available on Spotify, and they also have an Instagram account. So take a look at that. I think that's about it. About
Yeah.
covered it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we had plenty to say and plenty of info to give.
yeah, I mean, a little bit of ranting. We had a little bit of differing opinions on the Xbox thing, so that's perfect. We're gonna make everybody happy. We cover all the bases. Um, and I'm gonna go watch Housewives
Nice.
and maybe this Lord of the Rings thing. Miller,
Yeah, I'm definitely getting to this Lord of the Rings panel, so I'm very excited.
nice. All right. Well, thanks once again for joining me,
Mhm.
and we'll see you later, Andrea.
All right. Cheers, everybody.